Hey guys, it is Mo on this February the 4th. I am obviously in my big hooded sweater because I think the youngest, most feral might have contaminated me with whatever is going out and about. So, will recommend that everyone go get Lysol after this broadcast just to protect yourselves. Good morning, Denise and Super T. Christine, good morning. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing your Modly Mod things. Welcome, Tammy and Alice G. and Deborah Thiel. Yeah, the only good thing about not feeling so great is for some reason I was up at 1, and I think I have gone through, well, I condensed at least, I think, this entire year of the Blake Lively and Jason, what's his name or what's his face, uh, all of that. So I went from being woefully ill informed to, holy God, what is this heifer's problem? So expect videos from those as soon as I can, muster the will to hold down toast because honest to goodness, I don't know what's going on or going around outside, but this is this is a terrible flu season. Any hoozle. Our first story is a good one, and we all need a good story to start off the day. So, a 10-year-old superhero saved his little sister in the Philadelphia plane crash, miraculously surviving his own head injury. Quote, he wasn't supposed to make it. A 10-year-old superhero protected his little sister during last week's plane crash in Philadelphia, and now he's recovering from being impaled in the head by a piece of metal from the jet, his family says. Andre Howard was in the car getting donuts with his father and his two siblings when the Mexican-bound air ambulance crashed near Roosevelt Boulevard and Cottman Avenue just after 6 p.m. Friday, killing 7 and wounding many others. Quote, we heard what we thought was a plane crash, but then you see this fury of fire in the air, then a bunch of debris shooting everywhere. His dad, also named Andre Howard, told ABC6 Action News. My son, he tells his little sister, get down, he continued. Then he grabbed her as I hear glass shatter. I turn around and there's a piece of metal sticking out of my son's head from the plane. Now, a good Samaritan raced over and took the shirt off his back to put pressure on the wounded boy's head. Then a city cop rushed him to Jefferson Torresdale Hospital, where doctors immediately operated. They told us my son wasn't supposed to make it, Howard said. They told us they don't do child trauma, but they did for us, which was nothing but God. Andre's shaken mom, LaShawn Hamill, told the station that it was hard to see her baby like that. And I can't imagine. Look, my youngest, most feral is, that's why we didn't have nightly newsy news last night. Look, even wild feral boys become cuddle monkeys when they are sick. And this 60-pound, well, just woefully pitiful, sick child fell asleep on me, and there was no way I was going to move him to try to get to do a stream. So that was why I wasn't there. But to see your child sick or hurting and you can't take away that pain, that is the most powerless, helpless, terrifying feeling for a parent. And for him to, look out for his sister as a young boy. I mean, what an amazing thing. As a mother, what am I supposed to do? She said through tears, but he's good and he's pushing through. He's strong, he's a jokester, but strong. He's a superhero. Andre's dad said the same thing. To face death yesterday and speaking today, stepping up for his little sister, like I train him and his other little brothers to do off instinct, he's my hero, Howard said. Absolutely, young man, you are a hero. Your quick thinking probably saved your little sister. Now, Hamill said doctors are trying to keep the boys stable and comfortable while they figure out how to proceed. The Learjet 55's shocking crash injured 22 people and killed 7. Valentina Guzman Murillo, 11, her mother Lilith Murillo Onzana, 31, Captain Alan Alejandro Montoya Perez, co-pilot Jose de Jesus Juarez. He has two Juarezes? Okay. Dr. Raul Meza Arredondo and paramedic Rodrigo Lopez Padilla, as well as a bystander on the ground. Now, Valentina had just gone through life-saving treatment at Shriners Children's Hospital and was heading home to Mexico when the plane fell directly into the Pennsylvania neighborhood. In a Sunday Facebook post, Suzanne Marie Fancino wrote that she helped the mother and daughter who suffered from spina bifida and had just, finished treatments for the ailments, including a pressure sore. We helped them get to Philadelphia Shriners for desperately needed medical care, she wrote, adding that Valentina was very frail. The plan was to bring them home to live out the rest of her life surrounded with love and her adoring family. She said her mother was one of the most adoring, attentive mothers a child could ever have, and she literally never left her side. The news hit hospital staff hard, a spokesperson, Mel Bauer, added. It's extremely hard and difficult. Those that were involved directly in her care were very aware that she was going to be traveling home, and there had actually been a send-off for her today. The jet was scheduled to stop at Springfield-Branson National Airport in Missouri, then head to Mexico. The crash scene did span several blocks, and about a dozen homes and businesses were also damaged. 5 people are still at the hospital. Our city continues to mourn their loss, and they're in our thoughts and prayers, Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker said of the dead. Now, the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the crash and has reportedly recovered the aircraft's black box. So hopefully, we will get some answers and we will start to make sense of these things and figure out ways to stop them from happening. Well, now, this is just classless. Now, there is tacky and trashy, and then there is just tactless and gross. 2 airport authority workers were arrested for allegedly leaking DC plane crash video to CNN. And I'm guessing that CNN would be able to FOIA this information and get this footage eventually. But to make money off of, 70 people's loss, it's gross and it's disgusting and shame. Just ew. Yeah. Sorry, mom nurse information. I was getting consulted on what is the best cold medicine for X, Y, and Z. And honestly, none of them. They all suck and make you feel gross. But that's, where I kind of go. But back to the story. 2 employees of the authorities that manage Washington National Airport were arrested over their alleged involvement in leaking surveillance footage of last week's deadly midair collision to CNN. And why would you pick CNN, of all places that you know is not going to have your back? The Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority, or MWAA, staffers are accused of making unauthorized copies of the records and are now facing charges of computer trespass, the agency said Monday. The legal trouble is tied to the chilling video obtained by CNN last week that offered a horrifying view of the crash over the Potomac River. The Wednesday night collision between a Black Hawk helicopter and American Airlines passenger jet killed all 67 people on both aircraft. So again, making money off of other people's suffering, just gross. The exclusive videos gave a closer, clearer look at the air disaster, including one clip in which the chopper is darting from the left side of the screen as the American airline flight approaches the airport. A second short clip shows the Black Hawk, which is carrying 3 soldiers, and the bombardier, CRJ 700 heading toward each other before the two smash together and explode. Now, both videos were shot on cell phones, CNN reported on Friday. CNN lying. To my shock. I can't imagine. Mohammed Lamain Benguai, 21, of Rockville, Maryland, was charged Friday, and Jonathan Savoy, 45, of Upper Marlboro, Maryland, were charged Sunday, the MWAA said in an email. Now, Muhammad was booked into the Arlington County Adult Detention Center and later released, while Savoy was issued a summons by a magistrate and cut loose. Now, the airport authority didn't divulge any further details Monday night. The authority was created by Congress more than 30 years ago, and it is tasked in part with operating Reagan National and Dulles International airports. Now, officials began raising the wreckage of the doomed American Airlines flight Monday, as most of the victims' bodies have been recovered. After parts from the plane were taken to shore, the Black Hawk helicopter will be recovered. The military helicopter was carrying Army Captain Rebecca Lobosch, Warrant Chief Officer Second Class Andrew Eves, and Staff Sergeant Ryan O'Hara. The commercial flight was bringing home more than a dozen people connected to the tight-knit U.S. figure skating world. Now, questions still remain over how this mid-air crash happened, and there are still things, they're still investigating. I would expect that it will be about 6 months that we have things. They have to rebuild the aircrafts. They have to go over everything. They have to double check, go over witnesses. So I don't expect us to have answers before 6 months, but the government may shock me and be efficient. Stranger things have happened. Well, I feel like I am being judged right now because a woman is facing trial over an allegedly threatening "don't be a C word" bumper sticker. Now, considering that the C word is my favorite word ever, well, or maybe in close tie with the F word, I feel like this is absolutely not acceptable, and we must fight for the power to not be C words and to have a bumper sticker that says such. Now, a woman is set to face trial for an alleged threatening bumper sticker on her car, which reads, "Don't be a cahoont," spelled correctly and not cahoonty. Georgia Venables, 29, of Chester, pled not guilty for displaying a threatening, abusive writing, sign, visible representation likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress at Chester Magistrate Court on Tuesday, January 28th. Okay, I have a question, UK. Now, you are all... I have seen Monty Python. I have seen, Ab Fab. You're telling me that the C word really hurts your feelings? Or can we just send all the sensitive people to Guam, where they won't be hurt or, harassed by anything? Prosecutor Valeria Tonkinson told the court that Miss Venables was seen driving on the A5408 in the west of the city on Wednesday, January 8th, with the bumper sticker attached. Well, I'm glad that so have we gotten rid of all other criming in the UK? Because I feel like if you've gotten like all robblers and, secret spider ninjas and everything else, then we can worry about, being sad about a bumper sticker. But I kind of have it on good authority that there's a lot of shit going down in the UK that isn't being taken care of. So maybe let's, not worry about bumper stickers. But I could be wrong. Heck, I've never been so terrified at a bumper sticker except for those coexist ones, because I don't think you understand what militant monotheistic religions do to polytheists, but okay. We can coexist, but I think you might want to talk to all of those, monotheistic religions about how they feel about polytheistic religions. Because there is a couple of religions that might not coexist. Anywhoozle, always been my biggest thing. Mostly don't care. But really, Jem, I know the UK has gone, well, crazy. Now, the prosecutor said that the defendant denied the bumper sticker had caused distress and that there were disagreements over the sticker's size. Now, Miss Venables will face trial at the Chester Magistrate Court on Thursday, May 29th, and has been granted an unconditional bail. Well, now, see, if it was me, I'd be covering my entire car with bumper stickers at that point. And they'd all be offensive. Like, I would have the cardinal, 7 words that you can't say on with the FA or the FEC. I mean, I would just get my Cricket and George Carlin, and we'd start working on phrases. I would. But this is why I don't live in the UK, for, my safety. Because I am much too much mouthy to live in the UK. Well, looks like the cartels are going on the offensive, or at least they are letting people know, or letting the Border Patrol know that they are going on the offensive. Mexican drug cartels are planning attacks on Border Patrol agents with kamikaze drones and other explosives to try to fight the crackdown on the southern border. So this has been something that intelligence has gathered, that Border Patrol agents may be facing these new sort of jerry-rigged drone explosives, and to be on the lookout. Mexican drug cartels are ordering that their members attack U.S. Border Patrol agents with kamikaze drones and other explosives in a desperate bid to thwart the crackdown at the border, according to an internal memo obtained by the Post. The alert, which cites social media posts and other sources, cautions federal agents to remain cognizant of their surrounding at all times, and in the face of these new threats. On February 1st, 2025, the El Paso Sector Intelligence Operations Center received information advising that Mexican cartel leaders are authorizing the development of drones equipped with explosives to be used against U.S. Border Patrol agents and military personnel currently working along the border with Mexico. The internal memo titled Officer Safety Alert said, "It is recommended that all U.S. Border Patrol agents and DoD personnel working along the border report any sightings of drones to their respective leadership staff." Now, federal agents working along the border have also been advised to carry proper equipment at all times, including first aid kits, tourniquets, and body armor. Now, the memo also notes that rifles or long force multipliers should be readily available. Now, I have done some digging in the time I was awake, trying to will my stomach to stop revolting against me. This is not a common thing, telling Border Patrol agents and other DoD staff to go ahead and have long, force multipliers is not something that is generally, something that they can get, or something that they're told. This is definitely a ratcheting up of this. So if you have loved ones who have been deployed down in, on the border or anything like that, always a good reminder to keep an eye on everything around us. And hopefully these Border Patrol agents are getting all the equipment that they need in order to, be safe. Now, News Nation, which revealed the memo, also reported in posts on TikTok and other social media sites that cartel bigwigs have advised migrants to spit and pee in ICE agents' food and poo in their vehicles. Others have encouraged them to uh, shuffle off this mortal coil, agents, if you will. Now, the new threat from narco traffickers south of the border comes amid a major crackdown on illegal immigration crossing the U.S. under President Trump. So, again, this is definitely going to, I think, ratchet up. And I think that the opening salvo of Trump floating that he was going to designate these terror organizations. Look, you don't want Delta Force waking you up at 3 a.m. That's all I've got to say about that. It's not a fun thing. I do think that you will see a general escalation of violence. And I do think it's going to be a scary time around the border for a while as the U.S. reasserts dominance and sort of puts up boundaries. And we'll have to see how the cartel likes being told no, which, given their, allegiance with the mental capacity and emotional intelligence of toddlers, I can tell you they don't like being told no. So hopefully those Border Patrol agents, keep their head on a swivel and everyone will get home and back to their families. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news because mostly I don't want this to be my news, but it looks like the Northeast and Midwest are. Look, we are looking at another double barrel shotgun of both ice and snow. Wunderbar. You know. A potentially dangerous ice threat from a developing winter storm looms for millions of people from the Midwest to Northeast this week. While it's still too early to know exactly where the storm will track, the Fox News Forecast Center said sleet and freezing rain could be common this week. One of the most recent atmospheric river storms has been slamming the West Coast with giant amounts of rain and snowfall that could play, into the development of this latest round of winter weather. So it does look like it's going to, F me sideways. Could you just leave Indiana alone? Could we just leave Indiana alone? Look, I'm done with the cold rain. If it's not going to be snow, just let us pass on by for Lent, okay? I have given up winter weather for Lent. I don't even know if it's Lent yet. This is what happens when you're a recovering Catholic and you can't remember when Lent is, but you have a distinct craving for fish on Fridays, so you know it's coming soon. Look, I don't know if anyone else is like this. I eat Long John Silver's once in like 2 years, and then I remember why I don't eat it. Alrighty, so this is looking like it's probably going to be an ice storm. Again, looking like it's mostly rain for those of us more southern, but up here near the Great Lakes and into New York and all the places that get racked by wintry weather. Keep your eyes on a swivel. Make sure you have, warm blankets and things set up because we could be stuck in our homes again coming this week. Again, hate to be the bearer of bad news, wish it weren't so, but looks like we're going to get some more rain and snow and ice because yay. A Texas town shaken after 2 prosecutors plus another were slain in a pure revenge killing. So this looks like we are starting a new episode of true crime, docudramas. So this is in the Lone Star State, Kaufman County, where in 2013, 2 prosecutors were slain in 2 separate incidents caused by a pair of unlikely killers. This will be promoted on season 2, episode 2 of Prosecuting Evil with Kelly Segler on Oxygen. But it delved into 3 murders that put Texas and beyond into a state of fear. A vigilant public remained on high alert, not just because of the audacity of the unknown killer, but because the profiles of those murdered just a couple months apart. Now, this case involves two very well respected prosecutors who lost their lives, as well as that of an innocent bystander who was also murdered in cold blood, said veteran prosecutor Kelly Ziegler, a woman from inside the justice system who understood all too well the risks of protecting the public. Now, thankfully, with the introduction of Special Prosecutors Toby Shook and Bill Rice, the two individuals would be implicated in all three senseless murders. Now, I do believe I know of this case, but as I read more, I should be able to really figure out if I actually know this case and give you more. The murder of Kaufman County Prosecutor Mark Hasse. Now, on January 31st, 2013, around 8:40 a.m., felony prosecutor Mark Hasse, 57, of the Kaufman County District Attorney's Office, was shot in a broad daylight attack while walking from his vehicle into the county courthouse about 25 miles southwest of Dallas. A witness reported hearing Hasse repeat, "I'm sorry," to a masked gun person dressed in black before the culprit shot him 5 times, including once in the face. I do remember this case. A witness saw the shooter pull out another force multiplier and start shooting in the air, Shook explained while on the scene, probably to frighten everyone away. Now, the witness said that the gunman jumped into a passenger seat of a silver sedan before a second person drove the gunman from the scene. Now, the brazen attack injected fear into Kaufman County with those within the justice system, including Kaufman County District Criminal Attorney Mike McLeland, hell-bent on finding out who had killed one of their own. "I hope that the people who did this are watching," McLeland told reporters. "We're going to find you. We're going to pull you out of whatever hole you're in and let the people of Kaufman County prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law." Now, given House's career in prosecuting criminals, the list of suspects felt immeasurable. However, it wasn't long before the killer struck again. And this case is a wild one. It was the weekend of Easter Sunday when on Saturday, March 30th, 2013, just 2 months after House's murder, Mike McLeland and his wife, Cynthia McLeland, were brutally shot to death inside their rural Kaufman County home. Since McLeland was effectively Haas's boss, investigators immediately believed that the two incidents were connected. In the McLeland crime scene, way too many rounds were fired just to kill 2 people. According to the detectives, it seemed very personal and that they probably knew the person who killed them. The other detective called it overkill, considering Mike McLeland and Terrell Brooks, I still hate you with a fire of 1,000 suns that my brain now picks up sustained instead of sustained, because you put that in my head and I just don't like it. So he sustained 16 gunshot wounds while his wife sustained 4, presumably from an AR-15 style rifle. Now, Mike McLeland's children, J.R. McLeland and Krista Ball, told Prosecuting Evils that they had planned to meet the couple over the holiday weekend before the puzzling double homicide occurred. For the daughter, reality didn't really set in until they laid the husband and wife to rest. Mike was a fatherly figure in the office, and his wife Cynthia would always bring in cookies and baked goods for the office. And very motherly in her interactions with the office, said Lieutenant Justin Lewis of the Kaufman County Sheriff's Office. Now, Lewis, who had worked with the Sheriff's Office training and administration, also knew Hess and said that the former was also amazing to work with. Purported gunman comes forward. The investigation amped up one day after the McLeland murders when someone purporting to be the gunman went online and reached out to law enforcement through a web-based tip line. Now, according to Shook and Warsky, the detectives, the tipster could not be traced because he was smart enough to use an anonymous IP address, meaning that he could conceal his digital identity. The author provided information that only the killer or killers would have known, including the firearms and ammunition used to kill all 3 victims. The purported culprit demanded that a local judge resigned before the end of the week or he would have to kill again. Do I have your attention now? The tip stated. As published, your act of good faith will result in no other attacks this week. We will not be stopped. Meanwhile, local, state, and federal agencies looked into persons prosecuted by both Haas and McClelland. The only promising connection led to Eric Williams, a one-time commissioned police officer and elected justice of the peace. Convicted less than 1 year earlier for stealing several computer monitors from the county. Yes, you guys heard that right. This former justice of the peace, just to spoiler alert, basically went into a county office and said, look, I'm taking these 3 monitors for myself and running out. And, well, they kind of prosecuted him because that's, well, theft. Well, this just got under, Eric Williams' skin. Eric Williams thought that he was maliciously prosecuted for this theft of, public property. Maliciously because, he was running to be the judge again, and because he got a felony, grand theft. He was going to be out of a job. He was going to lose his law license and a lot of other things. So this man went on an unaliving spree to get back at people who prosecuted him for theft. Now, according to J.R. McClelland, his father offered Williams an option not to resign, but instead Williams chose prosecution and eventually was found guilty. Now, detectives visited Williams at his home, and while Williams denied knowing anything about the 3 murders, authorities found pieces of AR-15 style rifles inside his house. Now, since Williams was prohibited from owning firearms due to his conviction, it was enough for investigators to search his home. Law enforcement did a quick download of his computer searches. He was kind of doing surveillance on both Haas and the McClellands. Wireski told Prosecuting Evil. He was running license plates that were connected with addresses, neighbors' license plates, all that, trying to get a pattern of life. Even more telling was a handwritten note written by Williams on a scrap of paper. It contained a password for someone reporting a tip to the online hotline, specifically for the person who wrote the Easter Sunday message allegedly authored by the killer. On April 12, 2013, authorities arrested Williams on charges of making terroristic threats. On April 13, 2012, one day after Williams' arrest, one of the suspect's friends called the investigators claiming he had rented a storage unit on Williams' behalf. That day, authorities found a treasure trove of evidence, including police memorabilia and tons of firearm-related evidence. So this man, Eric Williams, dressed up as a police officer or sheriff to go to the McClelland's home because he realized he wasn't going to be allowed in or even on the property if he went as himself. So he dressed up as a police officer to gain access to the McClelland's house. This man is all the crazy. Wireski said that there was a large amount of ammunition, including the type used to kill the McClellands, and it was a huge break. That day, Eric Williams was charged with capital murder. Still, especially because the witness reported a getaway driver in the Haas scene, investigators wondered if Williams had acted alone. They had hoped to glean more information from Williams's wife, Kim Williams, described by law enforcement as a woman with health issues who rarely left the house. Now, Miss Williams did volunteer to speak with officials and broke down after several hours of interrogation, confessing that it was she who drove her husband to carry out all 3 homicides. Kim Williams admitted Eric Williams brazenly gunned down, Haas, and in the case of the McClellands, reportedly dressed as a SWAT officer and lied about a shooter in the area to gain access to the couple's home. This was a pure revenge killing against people who had prosecuted him. On April 18, 2013, Kim Williams, like her husband, was charged with capital murder, but the wife cooperated with investigators and soon pointed them to Lake Tawakoni, about 40 miles south or northeast of Kaufman. And the dive team, looked every day for nearly a month, nearly ready to call it quit. suspects. We were hours away from abandoning the search when we got a phone call that the dive team had found the guns and the phone. So these items were found in a black mask witness had seen the shooter wear at the house, crime scene. So let's get to the trial. And had I realized this was such a long article, I would have probably made it its own little video. But this is a crazy, crazy trial, and we'll have to see if it was televised because, holy God, this guy's a douche. Now, prosecutors chose to try Mr. and Mrs. Williams separately, with Eric Williams going first for the murders of Mike and Cynthia McClelland. The trial began on December 1st, 2014, and both Shook and Wiresky emphasized the two key factors of the case against Williams: the password that connected him to the online tip and the ballistic evidence collected from the McClelland home. The murder weapon was never recovered, but forensic experts took the stand, testifying to identify the ammunition found in the storage unit that matched the ammunition that was used to kill the couple. After a 3-day trial and just 2 days of jury deliberations, Eric Williams was found guilty for the capital murders of Mike and Cynthia McClelland. But what Mike McClelland's daughter, Krista Bell, called the most nerve-wracking part of the trial came during the punishment phase, in which jurors had to decide on life in prison or death by lethal injection. For that, Kim Williams, who did not testify in the criminal proceedings, took the stand. Now, Miss Williams told the court that she had joined Eric Williams in the murders because he sought revenge on the criminal justice system for his 2012 theft conviction. Cynthia McClelland was killed simply because she was collateral damage. Now, on the stand, Kim Williams said her husband planned on killing Kaufman County Judge Early Wiley and Senior District Judge Glenn Ashworth. The co-conspirator also claimed that she and Eric Williams were happy and joyous after the McClelland murders and celebrated with a steak cookout. What in the name of all that is unholy? You two deserve each other. You two are just as evil as each other. Ew. So I believe in Eric and everything that he told me, Miss Williams told the court. His anger was my anger. Prosecutor Wiresky said there was an overwhelming sense of relief when the jury returned an overnight decision to sentence Eric Williams to death. Now, as part of the plea deal, Kim Williams agreed to serve 40 years behind bars, and she will be eligible for parole in 2034. That's not going to bring Dad back, and it's not going to bring Cynthia back. It's not going to bring Mark Hess back. J.R. McClelland told Prosecuting Evil, "You're still dealing with life without them." Now, this was a really interesting case because early into the investigation, the prosecutor, Mike Hass, it was actually looked at as possibly being something to do with the white supreme pizza organizations that go on in prisons. This particular prosecutor was instrumental in getting some of these inner prison, social clubs really broken up and prosecuting some of their worst members. So it is an interesting case because for a long time, when it was just Mark Haas, they were really worried that this was retaliation for crackdown on the, pill-associated white supreme pizza, gangs. So this is a really interesting case, and it will be interesting to see how they present it. And now we get into the Blake Lively section of this. And am I with everyone here? Because I used to like Ryan Reynolds, but now he just looks like a douche, and I'm pissed off because I can deal with snarky and mean, but when you are just an unrelenting douche canoe, I have an issue. And learning that Ryan Reynolds is probably an unrelenting douche canoe is upsetting to me because I love snark. Welcome, Shitty Raiders. Let's get into this. So Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's attorneys traded snipes yesterday as a New York City judge warns them to tone it down. In a bombshell court battle, they started it. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's attorneys traded snipes Monday as a federal judge warned both sides to tone it down amidst their bombshell Hollywood court battle. Manhattan federal judge Louis Lineman instructed lawyers for both Lively and Baldoni to not make extrajudicial statements that could sway potential jurors in advance of the March 2026 trial. You've got a lot in front of the court that gives, I think, the public plenty to feast upon, Linman said in the end of the first hearing in the dueling litigation fight over alleged harassment on the set of It Ends With Us. Now, the judge did urge both sides to follow New York state rules that limit public statements about the litigation and even floated moving up the trial date if the case continues to be litigated in the press. The warning, which both sides of the long simmering feud agreed to adhere to, came after the attorneys traded barbs repeatedly during the hearing. Lively's lawyer Michael Gottlieb accused Baldoni attorney Brian Friedman of, quote, making up inflammatory comments, attacking the actress's character as well as her motives, including an appearance on the podcast of media personality Megyn Kelly, his former client. Now, the statements have been reposted and circulated hundreds of times, perhaps more, to outlets all over the world. Friedman, meanwhile, accused Lively's camps of working with the New York Times for months in advance of the newspaper's story about her allegations titled, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." Now, Baldoni is suing the Times in response to that article, claiming defamation. I can offer you statements made by Miss Lively's attorneys. This is not a one-way street, Friedman said. My grave concern is that my client suffered hundreds of millions of dollars of prejudice as a result of actions they were blindsided by, he added. Now, Friedman ultimately admitted that his squabble with, Lively's lawyer was about what each side has said to the media was kind of childish. Not to sound like a 4-year-old fighting a 4-year-old with they started it, but these kind of cases, once someone says something, it becomes fact, and there's no way to fight against it, Freeman said. But he still insisted, this was not started by us, Your Honor. Lively, 37, sued Baldoni, 41, who also co-starred in and directed the romantic drama in December for $250 million, claiming that he harassed her while filming and launched a smear campaign when she spoke out about her alleged mistreatment. The A Simple Favor starlet plans to file an expanded version of her suit by Valentine's Day, possibly including more claims and adding new parties as defendants, her lawyer said Monday. Ah, thank you, David. Now, Baldoni has denied her accusations. He and his publicist countersued Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds on New Year's Day for $400 million, alleging he defamed them. Now, Baldoni's suit includes texts that appear to reference Lively's close friend Taylor Swift. Lively's lawyer noted Monday that the case involved a significant number of high-profile individuals without naming names as he pushed the court for a so-called protective order to keep the evidence under wraps. Such an order will be appropriate in this case given the nature of the allegations and the high-profile nature of some of the individuals who will be involved. Now, the judge did order both sides to file the proposed terms of such an order for approval by March 11th. Now, neither Lively or Baldoni were at Monday's hearing, but it seemed like there was, a sufficient amount of, toddler behavior done by their lawyers. So I think we all felt seen. Uh-oh. Well, looks like an ex-HGTV star struck a school employee while cutting the pickup line, while saying, "Don't act like I hit you." Well, ma'am, listen, I hate HGTV. for the simple fact that Mr. Mo makes me watch it, and then he will tell me, he will look deeply into my eyes and lie to my face. When I say, "Oh, that's lovely. Can you do that?" And he'll say, "Oh, yeah, I know how to do, like, that's easy. I just have to build X, Y, and Z." And then 8 years later, I am still waiting for my built ins. So I say, stop marital strife and don't watch the, Home and Garden, network. That way you'll never get projects that your wife wants you to do, and your wife will never expect you to do projects. So it'll be all good in the neighborhood. But let's see what this heifer done did. A former HGTV star was a bit too aggressive in a school pickup line, police say, allegedly hitting an employee with her Porsche, and now there's a warrant out for her arrest. Jennifer Ann Bertrand, 50, won the third season of HGTV's Design Star, a reality competition for interior designers, in 2008. But on August 20th, Bertrand was less of a designer and more of a mom in a hurry, Missouri cops allege. A Palette County Sheriff's School Resource Officer wrote in a probable cause arrest affidavit that an employee wearing a bright safety vest was in charge of the pickup line at a Kansas City area high school. Now, Bertrand allegedly tried to drive her black Porsche through the school line and past other cars, nearly hitting one. The employee stopped her, explaining she had to wait along with other parents, but Bertrand said she had to pick up her child for an appointment. The employee told her to, go to the back of the line. I have the safety vest. I don't care if you have a Porsche. GTFO to the back of the line, ma'am. Also, I'm pretty sure you're probably responsible for the resurgence of shiplap. So you go to the double end of the line. Instead of acquiescing or, following directions, as many of us learned in kindergarten, Bertrand allegedly pushed her Porsche forward, hitting the employee in his right leg and causing him to lose his balance. While the victim said he was not hurt, Bertrand allegedly, quote, began laughing and arguing with him. Now, the victim said she told him, "Don't act like I hit you, and I'll see you in court." The allegedly dismissive designer hit the man a second time, police said. Now, school surveillance cameras reportedly captured the whole incident. I believe the defendant poses a danger to the crime victim or society because the suspect struck an innocent person with her vehicle and did not, make sure that show any concern for his safety or the safety of children or other pedestrians, the cops wrote. On Friday, the Palette County Sheriff's Office charged her with second-degree harassment, a misdemeanor, and the judge signed an arrest warrant. As of this writing, Bertrand has not yet been arrested. There have been no attorneys listed to the court files. After she won the reality competition and went on to host her own show on HGTV called Paintover, her website said, she describes her style as no-nonsense, vehicular homicide. No, that wasn't it. Accessible approach to making positive and impactful design changes without breaking the bank. Now, just dumb. Yeah, ma'am, I wanted to love you because you have the stepbrother portraits in your background. But then you have the penny problem glasses from HR, and I feel like you're going to talk to me about microaggressions. So you got coolness points up here for the stepbrother, portraits, but then you got the penny problem glasses from HR. And I know you are going to talk to me about a joke that I thought was hilarious that you found offensive. So we would just not be best friends. I can already tell. I have been following this story and I am glad that it looks like the death of a teacher with 20 stab wounds will be re-examined as parents settle with city. So this is a crazy, crazy case. As we get into it, I will explain it to you. The city of Philadelphia settled Monday with the parents of Ellen Greenberg, a teacher whose 2011 death was ruled a suicide after she was found with nearly 24 stab wounds and covered in bruises. Yeah, this has been insanity that they even attempted to float this as self-deletion. And the city's medical examiner's office will take a new look at Greenberg's manner of death. Their attorney Joseph Pedraza confirmed in a media release. It's been 14 years since 27-year-old Greenberg was found in her kitchen with 20 stab wounds and a knife in her chest, with a half-made fruit salad on the countertop during a blizzard on January 26, 2011. A judge on Friday ruled that a 2022 lawsuit filed by her parents against the city of Philadelphia could move to trial, and the forensic pathologist with the city's medical examiner's office, Dr. Marland Osborne, backtracked on his suicide ruling according to legal documents. Quote, "It is my professional opinion that Ellen's manner of death should be designated as something other than suicide," Osborne wrote. I mean, I'm not a doctorologist, but after, 20 stab wounds, I'm going to guess she didn't do it herself. I mean, again, not Sherlock Holmes or nothing, but who the hell saw this and said, this looks self-inflicted? The former Philadelphia pathologist initially ruled Greenberg's death a homicide in 2011, according to court documents. He then reversed course after meeting with police behind closed door and officially deemed it a suicide. Now, since amending the death certificate, I have become aware of additional information I didn't have at the time of issuing the amended death certificate, which would have impacted my opinion. The 20 stab wounds didn't give you like a little call me crazy, but yeah, that would have been my, I have a couple questions. Now, the Greenbergs entered a Philadelphia courtroom Monday and to begin the trial in their case, which accused local officials and the medical examiner's office, including Osborne, of covering up their daughter's death and participating in a concealed conspiracy for the purpose of disguising Ellen's homicide as a suicide, according to legal documents. Now, the city will pay Dr. Josh and Sandy Greenberg an undisclosed amount in Monday's settlement. I don't think anyone disagrees the crime scene should have been handled differently, Commons Pleas Court Judge Michael Edros said during oral arguments heard in the court early December. Pedraza previously told Fox News Digital the fact that the death certificate still lists the cause of death as suicide is puzzling. "We feel like we're advocating for her," Sandy said in a statement to Fox News Digital after the December hearing. "We're getting closer to justice for Ellen. We're determined and we're not giving up." Now, the Greenbergs have been entangled in legal battles with the government ever since their daughter's death, fighting the determination that it was a suicide, and they have alleged a conspiracy to cover up Ellen's murder in order to hide the authorities grossly botched the investigation, according to court records. At the time of her death, Greenberg had sent out save-the-date notices for her wedding with Sam Goldberg, who is said to return home from the gym, broke down the door, and found his fiance's body in their shared apartment in Mayanook, a quiet neighborhood in Philadelphia. Now, Greenberg's 20 stab wounds, including 10 from behind, at least one of which would have been inflicted after she was already dead, according to court documents. She was also found covered in bruises in different stages of healing, implying that she had received them over the course of some time, according to the autopsy report. Now, the Greenbergs and outside investigators have questioned why authorities allowed the crime scene to be professionally cleaned and sanitized before detectives arrived with a search warrant. They've also questioned why Goldberg's uncle, James Schwartzman, a prominent Pennsylvania judge, was allowed to enter the apartment and remove a number of Greenberg's belongings, belongings, including her computer, cell phone, and other items, according to court records. A representative for Schwartzman previously told Fox News Digital that police had given him permission to go in and take Greenberg's belongings, confirming he had removed her computers and cell phones. The door was damaged and unsecure. He took the items he thought might be stolen, a representative for Schwartzman explained on his behalf. Or that might have digital evidence that your nephew was a schmuck. In addition to their latest lawsuits, the Greenbergs filed another lawsuit in 2019 aiming to have the designation of suicide on her death certificate replaced with homicide or undetermined. Now that case is pending before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now, Philadelphia police did not respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment. They have previously declined to discuss the case, citing ongoing civil litigation. Now, the Goldbergs also did not respond for comment. So I do wonder what is going on here. A prominent judge allowed to muddy up the scene, regardless of, possible threat of, theft. If, the crime scene has been secured by police officers, they generally have a rookie, standing by the front door and writing down names of all of the police personnel that are going in to make sure that scene is secure. So I don't understand the impetus for the judge going in there unless it is to take digital evidence of his nephew being a mashugana schmuck, okay? That just doesn't make sense. Now, I do hope that every single person that bungled this so much to the point where her family has been left in a state of distress and having to deal with the fact that the cops so bungled this that they made it into a self-deletion with 10 stab wounds to the back, 10 to the front, and a large laceration on her head, but that was all self-inflicted because you guys screwed up. That's a level of just awful that I thought we had reached the limit in Delphi, but this is quite awful. And I hope we get to know at least some of the story or more answers for these parents. And the fact that they had to fight for years and years, since 2011, to get their daughter recognition of the terror that she went through in her last minutes to hours. It is unconscionable. Now, I don't know why this just tickled me pink for no reason, for reasons all to myself, but a determined beau proposes to a girlfriend on a chaotic flight with an unruly passenger duct taped beside them. Well, I have to say that all of my, romantic engagements should start with a bunch of duct tape around me. This lovebird made the best of a sticky situation. Dubbed the most chaotic flight ever, cabin crew members were forced to duct tape a petulant airplane passenger to his seat while a separate, presumably freaked out flyer popped the question to his now fiancée. It was the most chaotic flight of my life, said Mazia Barbino, a Florida-based content creator, in the first clip of a TikTok video series during which she spilled the hair-raising tea on her recent trip to an unidentified airline from Pennsylvania to Miami. I mean, if I see this on a flight, I'm just going to go ahead and assume we're all going to that, insufferable island of Lost. And I'm going to be the only one that knows that there's an MFN polar bear there. So I think I have seniority, okay? Like, at that point, I'd just be like, no, I'm out. Like, I have seen the ride and I do not want to purchase a ticket. As soon as we took off, this guy started being kind of annoying, and at some point in the flight, he just got really aggressive, Barbarino continued. She also revealed that The unnamed aggressor allegedly groped two female flight attendants' boobs and punched a male attendant. So the crew had to contain him, said the brunette. They taped him to his seat so he couldn't move or do anything else, said the TikToker. And he started yelling and screaming, and people started getting scared. Then the troubled horse really began racing when the man seated directly in front of the troublemaker suddenly jumped up to retrieve an item out of an overhead bin. So this guy just stands up and proposes, Barbarino says. I don't know what he was thinking, or if he was thinking we're all going to die soon, so let me propose now, she chuckled when recalling the freaky flight. But he literally stands up, got the ring from his bag, got on his knee, and he was probably planning to do a romantic thing, but he probably couldn't because he thought he was going to die. I love you, and I'd like to be annoyed with you for the last 30 seconds we have. This does sound like something I would say to Mr. Mo, so that would be romantical to me. Per her clip, the man's stunned sweetheart says yes, to the delight of his fellow unnerved passengers who applauded the happy couple as flight attendants strapped the hellion to his seat, then applied a strip of duct tape to his mouth for good measure. When we finally landed, there were about 20 cops out waiting for him outside the airplane, and he's probably in jail right now. It was crazy. I just love that this man didn't even take off his travel pillow. He's like, babe, if we're going down, I love that you got this pillow for my neck. And I do like his tracksuit is teal, so I hope this marriage just goes on forever and ever because he is wearing my favorite color. And look, he was scared of dying without giving her that ring. And I am here for that. That is romantical. Unfortunately, the mile-high bonehead isn't the only dope who's had to been duct taped due to bad behavior at 30,000 feet. The sticky tool came in handy for staffers on American Airlines flight from Milwaukee to Dallas in November when an unruly flyer charged a flight attendant and tried to open the aircraft's door while in the clouds. Now, in January, an intoxicated passenger, a married woman believed to be in her 60s, was also taped to her chair after causing a major disruption on a flight from San Francisco, California to Fiji. The tipsy scallywag caused great distress to nearby passengers and crew by screaming and yelling abuse, said one witness to the drama, adding that the woman was throwing objects, such as cups, at crew members and had slapped the hands of a flight attendant. So there you go. You know, just when you think you have to deal with the worst people ever, holy goodness, I wouldn't be a flight attendant. And then in our final story, to end again on a good note, now I don't know, and I will go ahead and tell you that then other than thinking Meghan Markle is a bit of a cahoot, I have really no opinions on the royal family, but I thought this was a sweet, lovely message and picture. Royal Family Live Updates. Kate Middleton shares a new photo of herself taken by Prince Louis for World Cancer Day. So I don't know if you guys know this, but it looks like, you know, Kate Middleton had been dealing with cancer during this last year. She has kind of stepped away from royal working engagements. I don't know how royalty works. They won't ever send me a tiara, so I have no idea. But it looks like in this really, really, cute sort of video or photo that was taken that, her youngest son took this really beautiful and kind of powerful looking picture of his mom. Kate Middleton took to Instagram on Monday, the eve of World Cancer Day on February 4th, with a hopeful message and a picture of herself taken by her youngest son. Now, Prince Louis, I always call him Louis, but I don't mean to be like condescending. Louis is such a kid name and he's a boy, so it reminds me of a boy name. Gets the photo credit on the portrait of his mother, 43, standing triumphantly in the woods atop a fallen tree trunk. with her arms spread wide and a smile on her face. Don't forget to nurture all that which lies beyond the disease. See, the Princess of Wales wrote in a caption. The inspirational quote appears on the second slide of the Instagram post as well. Kate announced last month that she is in remission from cancer, which kept her out of the public eye for much of 2024 as she underwent treatment that included chemotherapy, as, and that was finished in September. So I do like that, her youngest is probably like mine, my youngest, most feral. And just getting him to be in charge and take a nice picture of his mom was probably something that he just got, a bunch of thrill from. So, also a good, message if you know someone that's struggling or a caregiver of someone who is dealing with, cancer and being there, reach out. Today is the 4th, so it is, you know, excuse me, it is World Cancer Day. So if you know someone who has either nurtured someone through this disease or been through this disease themselves, definitely maybe send them a little bit of love, a little bit of encouragement today. But that is all for Newsy News this morning. I will be keeping up with the Megan Boswell case. They are still, I believe, looking for jurors. So as soon as they are ready to go live with opening statements, I will hop on. But until then, I am going to be dosing myself up with Dayquil. So Godspeed and brave Lysol to you all as we are going out into flu season of the apocalypse. I swear to goodness. So stay safe, stay healthy, drink some orange juice, get some Zicam, and we will all make it through these last little bit of winter until spring comes on. Honestly, that's just what I'm holding on to. Have a lovely day, you guys, and I hope you have just a wonderful day. Bye, you guys.